Hey everyone, I hope you're having a lovely Valentine's Day. I don't know if I am yet, but I'm about to. To celebrate the occasion, we're going to be taking a look at The Tender Wings of Desire by Harlan Sanders. Of course, more commonly known as Colonel Sanders, of course the man, the myth, the legend behind the famous Kentucky Fried Chicken craze. He unfortunately passed away 43 years ago, but in 2017 he actually came back to put out this little beauty of a book here. It was released as a limited time offer, both as a physical and digital edition, but thankfully, because it was a digital edition, I was still able to get my hands on it. This is a very short novella, so we are going to be getting into full spoilers here. I'm basically just going to be talking about everything that happened and give my thoughts on it, so if you care about spoilers for The Tender Wings of Desire, maybe come back after you have read it. So the story takes place in what seems like Victorian England, which doesn't really line up with the life of Colonel Sanders and when he was alive, but whatever. And it follows Madeline, who is the daughter of a wealthy aristocrat, and she is about to be married off to Reginald, who is a duke or something. I don't really remember the titles, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the problem is she doesn't love Reginald, so she takes her horse Persephone and takes off, basically. She just leaves. She runs away from home, and she keeps running until she finds a little town by the sea. Here she is instantly given employment and lodging by a local bar. She becomes a bartender. She meets all her co-workers, becomes pretty cool with them, and she also meets some of the sailors. Of course, being a seaside town, you know, fishing is a big deal here. There are a lot of sailors who go off for multiple days onto the ocean, come back, sell their fish. It's all a party. One of these is a man named Harlan, who she is instantly smitten with, despite her insistences that she is not, because she is, of course, not like the other girls who fall in love after literally talking to a person for maybe 2 minutes. Her co-worker Kiva tells her about Harlan and how he's quite the strapping young man, but warns her not to get too attached to these sailor boys because, you know, they're not always around and they could sometimes have ulterior motives. "You better behave," Kiva admonished him. "On the contrary," Madeline heard Harlan reply, "I think behaving is the last thing I want to do with her." In any other context, Madeline would be disgusted. Who did he think he was, saying such things about her within earshot? However, as she walked away, she could not help but feel a slow burn deep in her belly, and she wondered what it meant. So because she's never been in love before, you know, she's having all these symptoms, and she feels like she may be coming down with something, but Kiva, you know, reassures her, no, you're in love here. But because she's not like the other girls, she tries very, very hard to, you know, bottle up those feelings, and it kind of helps when Harlan doesn't show up for another 2 weeks, to the point where she's almost completely forgotten about him. She settles into her new life, everything's cool, but he shows up once again, and asks her to go for a walk. And he admits to her that during his time at sea, again, only 2 weeks, he has not been able to take his mind off of her. And she admits the same thing. And then she kisses him. And being quite scandalous for, you know, this old-timey period it takes place in, she invites him up to her room for, you know, some intense lovemaking. Now, at this point, we're like 75% through the book. So they spend 2 months together, I think, you know, just a vigorous lovemaking up in her lodgings above the bar, him going off to sea every now and then, them learning about each other, and just having a grand old time. But then in a shocking development, Harlan's family sends a letter to him, which Madeline reads and is quite taken aback, as it is revealed that Harlan is none other than the Colonel Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken over in America. And his brother is writing him to say, listen man, you need to come back. I can't run this business all by myself. Mother is fallen gravely ill. We need your help back in Kentucky. Realizing that she had been lied to this entire time, Madeline is understandably quite upset, and she takes Persephone and they just go off riding again. However, Harlan chases after her, and he explains that he was going to tell her at some point who he really was. But she no longer feels she can trust him, so she leaves. She leaves him there. Until he calls out her name, and then she instantly goes back to him, and they embrace, and they probably have another intense lovemaking session. And then the story ends with her having gone to Kentucky with Harlan, and she receives a letter from her family that she ran away from, and it turns out her younger sister is actually going to be marrying Reginald, who she was betrothed to, so that all worked out, and her family is actually really thrilled that, you know, she may not have married this duke they picked out for her, but instead she married Colonel Sanders. The Colonel Sanders. So, you know, it all sort of worked out in the end. And that was the book. As you would imagine, this was quite the odd experience. Like, yeah, it wasn't very good. It was a very generic, like, almost comically so romance story with almost no development at all. Every single conflict was, like, immediately solved. But it was just so brief. It was just over so quickly that, you know, it didn't really overstay its welcome. And, of course, you know, the big reason people would read this in the first place is because of the Kentucky Fried twist. And, yes, it was quite entertaining. It's kind of impossible to go in this not knowing who Harland is, but I do really like how they kept it a secret until almost the very end. So, like, in the odd chance that someone is reading this not knowing anything about it, it would come as quite the shock. And I did, like, laugh out loud a few times during, you know, this reveal and the subsequent aftermath. So for that reason, I honestly can't say I hated this. In fact, I'm pretty sure I gave it a 3 stars. It was a funny distraction, we'll say. It took me less than an hour to read. Yeah, it was cute. Despite my above average rating, like, I don't really know if I would recommend this. I mean, I think just knowing that it exists is gonna be enough for some people. Like, that's the amusement you'll get out of it. But if you are curious enough, I mean, yeah, like I said, it was a cute way to waste an hour, I suppose. But I have to say, it did give me a bit of a craving. So I popped over to Kentucky and got myself some lunch. I wanted to just get like a standard popcorn chicken or whatever, but they only had snack size, which was too little, and large size, which was way too big. So I settled for just a, you know, a standard sandwich here. Well, we'll see how it tastes. I'll be honest, I've not had KFC in what seems like years. I really don't eat that much fast food, and when I do, it's not trash like KFC. I generally think it's better than Popeyes. Popeyes was absolutely abhorrent, but I never liked it as much as Mary Brown's. I always enjoyed Mary Brown's more. Not super flattering, nothing like the picture, but that's how most fast food goes. Let's see if it's truly finger-licking good. That was because there was mayonnaise on my finger. It wasn't that good. Yeah, this is an okay chicken burger. Yeah, it's like nothing terrible. Like, I'm gonna finish it. But at the same time, nothing super remarkable either. I feel like if Harland were alive today, he might not be super thrilled with, you know, the state of his burgers, because I wouldn't really consider this finger-licking good. But I think, you know, if you're hungry in the middle of nowhere and there's just like a KFC there, you could do worse. So, yeah, overall, I'm pretty lukewarm on this novella and, you know, KFC as a whole. But of all the ways you could spend Valentine's Day, this, it might be pathetic, but it's not, like, the most pathetic. So I'll settle for that. Thank you all so much for watching. Stephen King tier list is next. Leave your comments on this book below if you have read it or your experience with Kentucky and its fried chicken. I don't know. And I'll see you in the next one.
To call their affair passionate was an understatement. Sometimes it seemed as though Madeline and Colonel Sanders had been made to love each other, and they tried to do so at every given opportunity.